All right, this quick tutorial relates to how we're going to conduct our discussions. We've already had a little discussion about that ourselves, but let's just sort of get right to the heart of the matter. So, we have several discussions that are due in this class. They're almost always due on Mondays. There might be a few exceptions to that with regard to, say, the first one, or if the discussion falls on a holiday. So before you post, do a little research, right? Go to your question, read your question, and do a little research. Come up with two good reasons why both sides of this particular issue might be correct. Right? There seems to, we've tried to create discussion questions or discussion opportunities on controversial issues in science and society where we want you to try to take a side, but also you ought to be able to argue either side. Just perhaps. So, do a little research, come up with two good reasons why both sides of this issue just might be correct. For example, we have in our second discussion, which came first, science or technology? You can probably argue either side. You might want to start with a definition of science or a definition of technology and then come up with some examples, right? Next, create a thread and take a side. So before you get going, number one, do a little research. Come up with two good reasons why either side just might be correct. And then create a thread and get ready to take a side. You'll find your discussion topics. You'll find the assignment in information, sure, at Blackboard for our class, but you'll also find your discussion topics under groups. So if you go to Blackboard, look for that tab on the left-hand side under groups, hit that, hit group tools, and then after that, discussions, I believe. You'll find several discussions and your due dates already there. Which side will you take? Which side will you take on these discussions? You've done your research, and now you have to take a side. The side you take will depend upon when you arrive at the debate. So when you go and you address this debate, if you're the first person there, pick the side you want. Just go ahead, lay it on out there. If you're the second person, sorry, you've got to pick the opposite side of whoever arrived first. It might be the side you want. It might be the side you'd rather not have. If you're the third person, pick either side. If you're the fourth, support the side that is outnumbered, and so forth. I hope that makes sense. Either way, you're prepared to argue either side. When you get to your group discussion board, pick the side that needs a good advocate. Next, after you've posted your position and your evidence to support your position, comment on two of your colleagues' posts in a meaningful way, enhancing the discussion. A meaningful response goes beyond a hearty, "Well done," "You got it, rock on." Yeah, no, come on, do more than that. The idea here is that when you come to this discussion board and you've done some research, it might just be, if this topic is of interest to you, that the research you're doing and the presentation you're making here will help you in a paper later on in class. For example, we will be taking up the idea of whether or not the state should demand that children be vaccinated against diseases that affect the whole of the community, right? Measles, mumps, flu, whatever, right? That's one of the big discussions, big controversies we have today. That's one of our discussions. You might decide that you want to make that your final paper. If so, you can use the work that's been done at these discussion boards, not only your work, but the work of your colleagues. Perhaps some of the work coming here will help you develop your argument, will help you find resources to support your position. So, this is a working group. Each discussion is a working group, thinking about the research that's out there, thinking about the ideas that are out there, maybe even personal experiences are helpful. At any rate, go further than just, "You did a great job, well done, you made me think." No, add to it. Let's keep the discussion going. Finally, keep it civil, keep it well supported, and keep up the pace. We've got to meet all of our deadlines. Let's be nice to each other. Let's recognize each other's contributions, but let's also make sure we're keeping our work well supported. right? Feel free to point out to others when you'd really like more information. Where did you get this? This is interesting. I want to know more, right? But keep it civil, keep it well supported, and yes, indeed, at some point you just have to cut yourself off and move on to the next topic, right? We've got to meet all of our deadlines. So you already know week one. We have our first discussion coming up in week one, and this is just an introductory discussion. This is June 14th, right? So introduce yourselves. Our first discussions based upon our reading materials is due in the second week of class. That second Monday, excuse me. It will be helpful if everyone will get in there and post their original threads by, say, Monday morning. And that way you've got the rest of the day to respond to other people's discussions, right? So try to get that first presentation, that first discussion thread in Monday morning as early as you can. And then let that sort of simmer throughout the day and respond, completing that discussion by midnight on Monday. You will also have a quiz. That quiz will be on Tuesday. And again, for the most part, our reading quizzes will be on Tuesdays, our discussions on Mondays. The reading quiz will relate to the materials from week one and all of that reading material. Yeah? So this first week, read, read, read. You have two discussions coming up, one on June 14th, one on June 19th, and then you've got a reading quiz. And I believe that one is due June 20th. So get going, get her done. There's much more to do, and good luck with this class. Holler if you have any questions. Feel free to email me or go to Ask the Prof.